Cool kids. I am so glad you could join me for today's special episode of Silver University. As promised yesterday, I'm going to get into the nitty gritty about the Melt and Scrap Silver Committee, and it's going to be pretty. There's another word that rhymes with it that probably applies, but we're not going to do that. No. All right. So, cool kids, what can you get for 1 ounce of these various different types of silvers, classes of silver? And if you remember, I did a series of videos on classifications of silver that you can invest in or put your savings into. And here I've got some of the basics. So our categories are the tried and true ASE, just for you. Woohoo. The run-of-the-mill sovereign silver. An excuse for me to grab something out of the silver coins around the world collection. Yeah. And we're going to talk about this stuff and how it's slightly cheaper than this stuff, but much more expensive than this stuff. And this stuff here is your pure 0.999 generic round. Yeah. I figured my old buddy PMG would appreciate an old vintage round like this for demonstration purposes. But then there's the junk coins, okay? They call it junk. You could call it constitutional. But it all works out the same. Every $1.40 or so is a troy ounce. So here's my $1.40 that I'm sending off to the scrapyard in this imaginary scenario. You know, various weights and shapes and sizes. Oh boy. Gotta love that silver. Gotta love it. And this is good old-fashioned all-American happiness right here, isn't it? Yeah. You know? And this is the kind of stuff that you probably wouldn't send to be melted, but for visualization purposes, these are our silver categories. But I've also added a few more. We've got 50% silver. Right? So this is that British stuff, but it could just easily be Canadian, right? So it's 11 shillings of British and $2.60 face on the Canadian. And then here we've got 6 shillings of sterling. But this could just as easily be a sterling candelabra for our purposes. Right? And we do like our Australian silver, don't we? Yes. Anyway, moving right along. Canada is $1.60 face. And again, I'm going with my tried and true fish scales because I like my fish scales and I don't care what you think if you don't like them. Okay, so that's just all there is to that. Fish scales are awesome, especially if you can get them at a good price. That one was about double melt that you saw there, but I have gotten them at melt or lower before. It usually comes with a larger lot, but that's okay. I like little surprises. I like the shiny. So yeah, every $1.65 of this stuff is going to give you 1 troy ounce of silver and a whole bunch of copper, right? Because it's 80% silver, which, you know, is 10% less than the U.S. stuff. and I mean the 90% stuff, not the 40, not the 35, and not the 75. You know, I forgot to mention that in the last video. Yeah, not the 75. No. Right. So there you go. There's another ounce. That's 80% silver ounce. And now I'm going to tell you, if I go to kitco.com and I scrap this stuff out, right, I'm going to get paid scrap prices. Well, scrap is scrap, so I'm not going to scrap the ASW for these purposes. I'm not going to scrap the sovereigns, but I will scrap all of this, okay? All the circulated, even if it isn't circulated, all the circulated stuff's going to get scrapped. We're going to do scrap prices. And what we're going to figure out is, this is the scenario at Silver University today. What is the payout if silver shot up to $50 an ounce tomorrow? And the reason for this exercise, this is all inspired by A.G. Stacker 1776, who asked, why on earth would anyone buy foreign junk silver? And the reason is one, you can scrap it yourself and get, silver for your pores. But another reason was that if you scrap it out, you're going to actually do pretty well. And we're going to find out today how well you do compared to your more tried and true. This is more tried and true over here. It's because a lot of people collect U.S. junk silver. A lot of people collect foreign. So this could be a Britannia. This could be a Canadian Maple Leaf. We're putting all these in the same category here. Okay. And then your generic silver. This could be a bar just as easily as a round, right? And then, of course, your ASE, which is the gold standard. I did not do any semi-numismatic stuff. We're not doing anything like that. Although I could, but we're not doing that. All right? And I also, we're not going to talk about numismatic coins either, because that's not what this exercise is about, okay? So, what I got to do is I'm going to figure out what we're paying per ounce. And first, we got to set that in stone. So, for the Canadian junk, okay, for the Canadian junk, first of all, we're going to round up on spot. Spot's $22 an ounce right now, okay, for our purposes. We're going to purchase 1 ounce of this, and we're going to say that you can get this for 2% below melt. Now, if you want to argue with that, that's fine. The thing is if you look at my channel, you'll notice I get a lot of this stuff under melt. I'm just rounding it to 2% under to make it real easy. So 2% under melt for 80% Canadian silver. What is the payout on that if silver goes right to the moon at $50 an ounce? And I'm going to do all this math real quick. I'm going to go to the Kitco webpage and get the numbers. All right, and they're paying out $19.43 per ounce on that, which is about 90% of melt on our standard here. So $19.43 per ounce. And if we were to go with 100 ounces, right? 100 ounces, what would that cost us? Well, at 2% below melt, we would pay $2,156 for 100 ounces of Canadian junk. So we're going with 100 ounces, nice round numbers, $2,156 for the Canadian junk for 100 ounces of it, right? And Kitco's going to pay us $19.43. Now we're going to assume that 90% number is going to carry into the run up to 50. And that may or may not be true, market conditions, but we're going to do that for all of these metal classes. So we got to compare apples to apples. We can't speculate on the future. We can only go with what we know. So at that payout rate, right, at $19.43 per ounce right now, if we sold the 100 ounces, right? We'd be losing our butts, right? We'd only get 90% of what we paid. But if silver shot up to $50 an ounce, well, hold that thought. So our $2,156 investment becomes a nice even $4,500 payout on the 80% Canadian in that scenario. Now, we're going to do each other class. So, generic rounds. Well, generic rounds, right now, the cheapest one I can find is 12% over melt. But I'm going to round that to 10. 10% over melt is what it's going to cost you to buy, okay? So, if silver's 22, right, it's going to cost us, remember this costs $21.56. We got $4,500 for it. The 22, well, that's easy to figure out. That's 24, right? 24.2, 24.20. So we're going to end up with only 89 ounces to the 100 ounces of Canadian silver is what it comes out to. So let me do that math real quick. All right, so the way we're coming to that is we're taking the $21.56 we paid for this, and we're buying as much generic as we can at $24.20. Okay? So $21.56 divided by $24.20 for the methodology. The answer is 89.1. 89.1 times 50 comes to 4455. So 4455 for the generic. So all right, so you come out slightly on top. And you're paying a premium, but people don't really pay premiums, especially, I mean, they pay melt for generics when it comes time to sell. And you'd be happy to put in $21.56 and get $44.55 back. So we're going to go with even money on that. But the problem is you're paying a 10% premium. Now, if that premium drops, all of a sudden this Canadian doesn't look as good. But right now, the way the market is, that's the numbers I'm going with. Okay, because you can get 90% of melt for Canadian, but for generic, you're just going to get melt when you go to sell it. And you're going to pay a 10% premium. And like I said, I looked. The cheapest I could find was 12%. So me saying 10% is being generous. Now, this is all assuming you're buying today. All right? Okay. And, mileage will vary. You might have a line on some rounds that's better than that. I'm just trying to be fair in the valuation, okay? If you guys see a problem with my methodology, by all means. But the point is, there are some big differences between this and this. And one is recognizability. This is much more recognizable than this. So, that is going to give this difference is going to mean a lot less in total profit at the end of the day. It's negligible, I would say. And there are advantages. This is fractional. This is not. So there's pros and cons to both. I'm going to say they're about equal. If you're looking at pure profit, the Canadian looks a little better, but it's not enough with the pros of the generic to really say poo-poo on the generic. That's what I'm saying. We're going to go to the next class, so we could go on all day just on that topic. And by the way, we're at Silver University, guys, just in case you forgot. ASEs, we already know this is going to be really bad, right? So we're going to say these cost $35 each. Okay? All right, $35 each. Does that sound fair? Someone tell me if that's not fair. $35 for an ASE. Tell me in the comments, and we can you can redo the numbers here. These all plug and play. It's the same $21.56, okay, into what your fair price you think it is, right? And then multiply that times 50, because that's what you're getting back per ounce. And I'm going to do that math. Okay, so you get 61.6 ounces to the 100 you'd have got here, or the 89.1 you would have got here. So quite a bit less silver for your money. You end up selling at $50 an ounce for $30.80, which is still a nice chunk of change if Federal Reserve notes are what you want. By the way, I am aware that silver is dropping right now as we speak, but we're still using 22 as our gauge, even though 21 would be more fair. I'm not restarting the video. Now our next class is the sovereign silver. And remember, this could be a Austrian Philharmonic. This could be Australian kangaroo. It could be any number of cool little hunks of bullion. But they're sovereign, right? So the Britannia, the Krugerrand, right? All these things would count. The Kookaburra is probably a little more premier, but it could count too if you really wanted it to. We're going to do that math, but we're going to count these as $28 each. That's a fair price as far as I'm concerned. I mean, they do range from 24 to 28, but we're just going to go with 28. If you don't think that's fair, you plug and play your own number. Remember, you're buying $2,156 worth, and I'll let you know how that math goes. All right. Oh, big mistake I made. Hold on. I got to redo the ASC and the sovereign. We're going to say that the ASC sells for 5% over. I'll just raise these numbers, and we'll say these sell for 2% over. Okay? Let me redo that math. Because despite costing a premium, you do get a premium back, but it's not as high as what you paid. Okay, guys. After my revision, the ASCs are 3234. The sovereigns are 3927 on your profit margin. That's with a 2% and a 5% premium, which I think is fair. If silver shot to $50 an ounce, that's what you get thereabouts, if that. I lived through 2012 or 2011, I think it was. I was around for that last run up, so I can tell you the premiums aren't quite what you think they are on the back end. Okay, moving right along. We got to do 50% and 90% US. We're going to say 90% US has a premium on it. We're going to call it 2% as well. So let's do that math. Oh, and 90% US is going to be 20 times face for the price, okay? 20 times face is fair. That's what it's been for a few years now. 20 times face, let's do the math. I already knew this, but I'm going to go ahead. It's exactly the same as the sovereign bullion. It's the same exact math, the same exact amount. So 3927, which isn't terrible, especially when you consider the recognizability that junk silver brings you and the protection during shit hits the fan. So again, I'm not poo-pooing any of this. ASCs I would poo-poo. I wouldn't buy them right now, but all three of these have... There's reasons you would want it. Okay, now we're going to go to the other end. We're going to do sterling and 50%. For the 50%, we're going to say the same 2% off. No one pays melt for these. For the sterling, we're just going to go even Steven. And the math on that is going to be the same as the generics. Okay. And that's going to be real easy. I'm going to say you can get sterling at melt. You can probably get it below it, but we're going to say even Steven, and we're going to say it pays out slightly less. So the sterling's probably a little worse deal than the generic, but if you hold out for the right deal, boom. And I'm going to say this is the only one we really got to calculate, and that's the 50%. So let me get what they're paying for that. All right, and the payout on that is 4,350. They pay 87% of melt, believe it or not. That's pretty crazy. All right, so 50% silver. Actually, it's less than the generic, and it's less liked. So of these, I would say your viable options are sovereign silver, junk US, generic Canadian. 50% is not so great. ASCs are not so great. 50% is not terrible though. Sterling is good too. The only one that's horrible is ASEs. Anyway, that's all I got. Thanks for watching. Have an amazing day. Hope you find all the collectibles of your dreams while you're awake. Like, share, and subscribe. Bye-bye.